In this video, we will talk about chloroplast and photosystem. Chloroplast. In photosynthetic eukaryotes, photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast. Distribution. The chloroplasts remain distributed homogeneously in the cytoplasm of plant cells. But in certain cells, the chloroplasts become concentrated around the nucleus or just beneath the plasma membrane. Morphology. Higher plant chloroplasts are generally biconvex or planoconvex. However, in different plant cells, chloroplasts may have various shapes, viz., filamentous, saucer-shaped, spheroid, ovoid, discoid or club-shaped. Size. The size of the chloroplasts varies from species to species. The chloroplasts generally measure 2 to 3 micrometer in thickness and 5 to 10 micrometer in diameter, example Chlamydomonas. The chloroplasts of polyploid plant cells are comparatively larger than the chloroplasts of the diploid plant cells. Generally, chloroplasts of plants grown in the shade are larger and contain more chlorophyll than those of plants grown in sunlight. Number. The number of the chloroplasts varies from cell to cell and from species to species and is related with the physiological state of the cell, but it usually remains constant for a particular plant cell. The algae usually have a single huge chloroplast. The cells of the higher plants have 20 to 40 chloroplasts. Ultrastructure of chloroplast. Chloroplast contains outer membrane, inner membrane, and intermembrane space, ribosome, lipid globule, stroma, thylakoid space, DNA, stromalamellae, granulamellae and starch granules. Chloroplast structure can be categorized into three. First, envelope. The entire chloroplast is bounded by an envelope which is made of a double unit membrane. Across this double membrane envelope occurs exchange of molecules between chloroplast and cytosol. Isolated membranes of envelope of chloroplast lack chlorophyll pigment and cytochromes but have a yellow color due to the presence of small amounts of carotenoids. They contain only 1 to 2% of the total protein of the chloroplast. Second, stroma. The stroma is a kind of gel fluid phase that surrounds the thylakoids. It contains about 50% of the proteins of the chloroplast, most of which are soluble type. The stroma also contains ribosomes and DNA molecules, for example, 80 DNA molecules per chloroplast per cell of Chlamydomonas, 20 to 40 DNA molecules per chloroplast per cell of leaf of maize, both of which are involved in the synthesis of some of the structural proteins of the chloroplast. In stroma, CO2 fixation occurs and the synthesis of sugars, starch, fatty acids and some proteins takes place. Thylakoids. The thylakoids consist of flattened and closed vesicles arranged as a membranous network. The outer surface of the thylakoid is in contact with the stroma, and its inner surface encloses an intrathylakoid space. Thylakoids may be stacked like a neat pile of coins, forming grana, or they may be unstacked, stromal thylakoids, forming a system of anastomosing tubules that are joined to the grana thylakoids. There may be 40 to 80 grana in the matrix of a chloroplast. The number of thylakoids per grana may vary from 1 to 50 or more. Chemical composition of chloroplasts of higher plants. Chloroplast contain proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, chlorophyll, carotenoids and nucleic acids. Thylakoid membranes have a high protein content and are unusual in having relatively little phospholipid. Instead, these membranes have a high percentage of galactose-containing glycolipids such as the following: monogalactosyl diacylglycerol. Both fatty acids of these lipids contain several double bonds, which makes the lipid bilayer of thylakoid membranes highly oid. The oidity of the lipid bilayer facilitates lateral diffusion of protein complexes through the membrane during photosynthesis. Functions of chloroplast. Chloroplast involves in photosynthesis. Chloroplast absorbs light energy and converts it into chemical energy. Chloroplast produces NADPH and molecular oxygen by photolysis of water. Chloroplast produces ATP by the photosynthesis. Chloroplast involves CO2 fixation. Now we will talk about pigment system or photosystem. It is the complex of pigment and proteins. Photosystem contains photochemical reaction center and antenna complex. Photochemical reaction center has pigment and proteins. Photochemical reaction center is surrounded by antenna complex which contain many pigments like chlorophyll A, B and carotenoids. Excited pigment transfers its energy to another pigment by resonance energy transfer. Antenna complex. The size of the antenna system varies in different organisms, ranging from a low of 20 to 30 bacteria chlorophylls per reaction center in some photosynthetic bacteria, to generally 200 to 300 chlorophylls per reaction center in higher plants, to a few thousand pigments per reaction center in some types of algae and bacteria. Energy transfer in antenna complexes is very efficient. Approximately 95 to 99% of the photons absorbed by the antenna pigments have their energy transferred to the reaction center. Photochemical reaction center. There is an important difference between energy transfer among pigments in the antenna and the electron transfer that occurs in the photochemical reaction center. Whereas energy transfer is a purely physical phenomenon, electron transfer involves chemical changes in molecules. Pigment system in oxygenic photosynthetic organism. Pigment system in oxygenic photosynthetic organism is located in thylakoid membrane. There is two photosystem present. One is photosystem 1. It is also known as Pha-S type. Photosystem 1 has photochemical reaction center, P700, which has chlorophyll and proteins like PSAA and PSAB. Antenna complex has pigments like chlorophylls, carotenoids, and proteins. Photosystem 2 is also known as pheophytin-quinone type. Photosystem 2 has photochemical reaction center, P680, which has chlorophyll and proteins like D1 and D2 and antenna complex. Photosystem in anoxygenic, non-oxygen evolving, photosynthetic organism. In green sulfur photosynthetic bacteria. It contains Pha-S type photosystem. It is similar to photosystem 1 in oxygenic organism. It is located in plasma membrane. It contains bacterial chlorophyll and proteins in photochemical reaction center. Purple photosynthetic bacteria. It contains pheophytin-quinone type photosystem. It is similar to photosystem 2 in oxygenic organism. It is located in chromatophore. It contains bacterial chlorophyll and proteins in photochemical reaction center. Rhodobacter and Rhodopseudomonas viridis. It is non-oxygen evolving, anoxygenic, organisms, purple photosynthetic bacterium. It contains pheophytin-quinone type photosystem, which is similar to photosystem 2. Again, we will do comparative study of photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. Photosystem 1 present in thylakoid membrane at non-oppressed region while photosystem 2 present in thylakoid membrane at APPRSED region. Both photosystems contain chlorophyll A and B. PSAA and PSAB majorly present in photosystem 1. While photosystem 2 contain D1 and D2 protein. The other name of photosystem is P700 and photosystem 2 is P680.